Show planes.
Uh-huh. So this image is technically perfect. Um, Beautiful color, you know, the contrast, the different blues and the gray with the grayish kind of blue is really beautiful. It's sharp enough that we can see into the cockpit, and I almost feel I could read the pilots' names on their shirt. Um, I think it would be a bit stronger, again, with some room for the lead plane to move into, and also if there was a sense of motion, as I said before.
Train in Saxum.
So I don't know where Sax Zim is. That was interesting to me. I didn't Google that. This image has very strong impact, and when I first saw it, I didn't realize that it has this painterly kind of Photoshop effect. I think it's well done. Um, it works well. It's a very strong graphic image, um, and that I like, and I think works well. The diagonal gives a sense of movement through it, you know, and there's that sense of strength that the train is kind of bouldering on. Um, uh, I was distracted by the blue in the tree just above the tree line, the other trees line, and in the sky. And also the bright light, even though we know and we recognize that the lights on the front of the train are going to be bright, it felt like a bit hotter and distracting to me. If you could tone that down a little, I think it would improve it. Nice job.
Tug
Uh,
in
I,
sea
I re
smoke.
Thank you. So I really love this image. Um, and I kept sitting with it and coming back to it. And because you know, we have a bit of a curve to work with when doing the judging, it got moved around, and I wish I could have given it a higher score because of how it landed with me, you know, viscerally. There's this great sense of mood in the morning light. I think it could be stronger image if we cropped out the right side. And since it's traveling away from me, it seems stronger with a vertical crop between the two buoys. So that would give it that sense of movement forward.
Waiting for
This one,
repairs.
thank you. Um, so who's announcing these? Is it Jill?
It's Jill. Yes.
Okay, I just want, thanks, Jill. Sorry for talking over you there a couple of times. I'm just so excited to give the feedback. So this image
It's
really,
okay.
like the one before, I just really loved the impression that it gave, and it just captures. I like the coloring and the subject when it's taken. Um, so a very nice panorama that is sharp and appealing. The color management's done well. The diagonal gets the eye moving on these very static objects. Well done. I felt like I wanted to climb down as a photographer, get close, and pull out a piece of detail to photograph to put on a wall somewhere. So a very inviting, well done image.
All right. Now we have yellow car.
So a very good choice to shoot an image with strong primary colors, the blue and the yellow. We also have the green and the lavenders in there. Some beautiful color. It's rich. The image is sharp. It's well exposed. It is a little flat to me, you know, and I'd like to see that changed a bit. There are a number of different ways of doing that. Some contrast. I find the dehaze filter in Lightroom is helping with that. Um, so this image, to also keep in mind to manage the distractions. The park and ride sign is a distraction. and unless you really intend to have them there. Uh, so you always want to crop out extraneous detail. And in this one, I also thought a type crop on the first floor with the car positioned between those four posts and lining the car up with the house door, uh, might make it a stronger image. And then, like I said, push the contrast or the dehaze a little bit. Otherwise, nicely done.
Okay, we're going to move on to the eights now, and I will read the image name and then the photographer. Here is Awaiting the Start by J. Olson Goody.
Uh, Jay, really nice job. This is a great story. First, we see these two guys there, and then looking into the image, we start following his hand in the hood, and we see, the driver there. So when we first look at it, we may not even know what it is, and so it tells a story. We get the sense, we get the story that they're waiting. So really nice job with that. We're wondering what they're looking at it as well, which adds to the story. Um, so the one question I have is I would love to see how this would look also in mono, but otherwise really nice job.
Okay, here is BNSF 8277 northbound at Bay City by Chap Aiken.
Chad, is that right? Yep.
Chap,
Chap.
CHAP.
Chap. Okay, great job, Chap. A really great, good angle of the exposure. It's a sharp image with interesting sense of motion. You've created it, I believe, almost completely in post-processing. And the reason I say that is because of the way the blur is and where it occurs. So it creates the impression that you're panning. But one thing I would say is the drop shadow or the blur that you put in both ahead of the train on the left and above on the right, when I started looking at it in detail, got me wondering, is this train moving towards me or away from me? And so maybe it's moving towards and away simultaneously, and there's probably some sort of scientific or science fiction name for that. But otherwise, nice job.
Okay, here's Flyover at the Concert by Fred Sabatka.
So Fred, nice interpretation of the topic, the subject, and it's a really nice shot. Don't need a lot of room for something that's hanging from the ceiling to move into. You got the story there with the crowd reaching up, brings our eye back to the plane. The music, we have the sense of what's going on here. Great exposure, really nice job.
Okay, on to the nines, and we'll start with Catching a Ride by Fred Sabatka.
So Fred, tremendous image. This seemed like it could be, for a poster for a Hollywood movie to me. It tells a story. It seems so carefully staged. If it's real and my comments that I'm going to say are off, my apologies to you, and I'm even more blown away. But I get a sense that some things are kind of layered here. It's really well done. Like I said, I think it's a composition. The model is placed perfectly with her head between the tower and the building behind the car. This dramatic sky adds to the image. The hint of the engine all evoke, and the engine detail all evoke this Hollywood scene. I was thinking of what's the at the moment I can't remember the name of the movie. So the white halo around her neck, around the model's neck, face and back suggested to me that it was a composite. Another little thing is the finger writing in the dust on the hood of the car. I found distracting after sitting with it for a while. And so, can we ask Fred to respond? Is this a composite?
He
Yeah,
typed in the chat, no layers, all one shoot.
all one shoot. I'm blown away even more. Congratulations. Well done.
Now we have Cosmic Chopper by Pat Chaconis.
So Pat, very creative, very, very creative. I expect to see Nicolas Cage coming in with flames coming out of him. If you recall that movie he was in, it's well executed. Strangely, I was a little distracted by the definition around the back of the rear tire. It's like I would like to see the light fall off a little bit darker than that halo effect there. Otherwise, very well done.
Okay, here is Cycle by Pat Chaconis.
So Pat, great job, great job. And here's an example of where less is more, and where movement is not necessary. It's well cropped, it's well framed, it helps define the image, it's technically perfect. It could go on the wall, adjoining space with another photograph that's yet to come up.
Okay, here are the 10s. We've got Marine F4U VMF 312 by Chap Aiken.
Chap, great job. I mean, this is an excellent shot. So that sense of motion we get from that explosiveness in the cloud behind it. So we get that sense of motion coming that way rather than a blur or even the propellers spinning. The positioning, again, takes what is a static image and creates that sense of motion with that cloud. We have the space for the plane to move into, away from that explosive cloud again. The gold light below, contrasted with that complementary blue color, just adds to it. So wonderful job.
Okay, I have to make a correction. Cycle was by Mike Schrun.
So
Now we have.
Wait, that one.
Are you going back? There you go, that one. Sorry, everybody. That's the only mistake I make. I'm counting us ahead. Okay, so now we have Route 66, Safety Pays by Mick Richards.
So Mick, nice job. And again, you know, we have two excellent images. I could not give them both less than the 10s here. And it pained me to not be able to give more. So beautiful image in so many ways. It again is like a piece of art to me. We're able to sit with it and just keep coming back to it and enjoy different dimensions of this image. So this mono invites us to explore this image a lot. And also by going in mono, we're not overwhelmed with what the color would bring to us. With the other one that I talked about, the motorcycle engine, the two of them I could see on a wall in, you know, a restaurant, a car dealership, or a bar with a vintage American theme. So one thing I thought of too is you know, if you could, I'd get rid of that little bit of the wagon on the right, up on the right side there. Clone it out, but otherwise great shot. Yep, thank you.
Okay, we'll start with the creative category.
Nice. We're doing
And
the
begin with
categories.
the sixes. We've
We're
got
doing the categories
flamingos.
alphabetically too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I think I cut you off on the title. This is Flamingos.
Yes.
So this is a funny shot. The mistiness in the image kind of adds to the impact, and the spacing, the pink flowers in there also help add some interest. I struggled with seeing how this image got into the creative category. Um, and So the other thing too is I would remove the distracting metal siding that's in the upper left, and the drain from the right, the lower right. I think it would be stronger also if it was cropped tighter, taking out the left side there.
Next is keep out.
Okay. I'm going to rearrange my screens here a little bit, if you don't mind. Just make it so I'm not turning my head back and forth as much. I usually work with two screens. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So this is keep out. So good matching of the sepia with the old car. It evokes a sense of curiosity. We want to look closer and think about it, especially those what looks like Christmas decorations. Got me wondering what's going on here. Otherwise, I struggled with this image in terms of where to look. I wondered if being off vertical was intentional with the fences, the rails back there. And it lacks detail in some dark areas, and the whites are kind of blown out for me. So.
Okay, now the sevens, starting with beach bear.
So, really nice instant impact. This is a similar technique to another photographer's image tonight that we're yet to see. It's very subtle, the technique you used, and it enhances the bear's fur. I like how you blurred the background. There's a good light in the dark areas of this image. I would tone down the bright area around the subject, that halo. I found it a bit distracting as I sat with this longer. In the beginning, it's sort of like it grabs me, but then over time, it kind of wears my eyes a bit. Um, I wonder if the image in its original unaltered, except maybe for kind of toning down the background, and perhaps giving a little bit of a vignette would make it stronger than with this creative technique.
Here is Song Sparrow.
Yeah, so here's that technique, kind of Photoshop technique. When I first saw it, I didn't recognize that the technique was there, and so I think it's really well done in that regard. Very good composition. The composition is just perfect. And the crop, the moment of capturing the bird's beak open, it got me thinking like I want to listen. It opened my ears. And so that was really done. A nice choice in using this technique, and good background.
African fish. Oh, sorry. Now we're going to do the eights. Uh-oh.
I think we
Where
go
are
right
we?
to the tens.
I think we go right to the tens, and you scared me because I thought I lost some images off my list. Yes, African fish eagle. And this is
Yeah,
by Melissa Anderson.
yeah. I should say here, you know, I do my judging, if I can take a moment to pause. Um, I do my judging a couple of different ways. I run through all of the photos when I first get them, um, and just take them in. And then I go through them again and I write up my notes and I spend time with every image, um, processing and taking note of what my thoughts are about them. And then after I've done that, I come back and I start using some objective criteria, looking at composition, you know, the technical, the composition, and the creativity or the interpretation of the subject. And so that's how I arrived to the numbers for these images. And other than sometimes where things are sitting on the bubble and I got to move things around because of the curve, the numbers are pretty, you know, pretty much where they landed from that process. So the maker of this, Jill, can we have their name again?
Is Melissa Anderson.
Melissa, excellent, excellent, excellent work. This is an excellent image with high impact due to the position of the bird, the sense of motion that's created here is tremendous. The painterly background adds that to the effect. It evokes a sense of a studio portrait and also at the same time, this kind of majestic sky framing the bird, you know, and holding it aloft. Um, you know, the dark area and tones again help capture and project the bird into the space on the left by the darkness on the bottom and to the right. We have, again, there's that space to move into. Wonderfully positioned. Great job.
Okay, next is Summer Stroll, taken by Chap Aiken.
So, Cap, good job again. Nice job. You know, this looks like the world when I take my glasses off. So anybody who doesn't wear glasses, if you have astigmatism and need power, this is what the world looks like. Um, it's beautiful lighting. It evokes memories of impressionist artists without being too much like a copy of an impressionist artist. And so nicely done.
Okay, beginning the nature category. We'll start with the sevens. First one, Crystal Wings.
This image has great position, great capture of light from behind and on the left. The subject's head is a bit out of focus. And so when we're doing macro or micro, want to get the subject fully in focus, at least the primary part, you know, the head, the eyes, you know, or those you know, like parts. Um, and I felt like the image needed a bit more exposure. It's a bit under.
Next is Fall Woodbine.
So this image is so sharp and great contrasting of the primary and secondary colors. You know, the blue, the berries there, the red, and the stems, the leaves. Very nicely done. Great management of the background. So this is one of the images that I would ask if we take a few moments to just open the chat and see if we can give the maker, or just typing in one sentence or a few words about what you would do or how you suggest they might improve this image to get it to score higher or to shoot differently. And we'll just take maybe 20, 30 seconds for that. Anyone willing to? There we go. Crop some off the top. make the greens in the leaves pop a bit more. Reduce the brightness on the bright reds. Desaturate the background slightly. Brighten the leaves in some places. Give it some more depth. A couple of more comments. Okay. We move on then?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I hope that's, and just to the maker, you could copy and paste that into a Word document or something. Just copy that out of the chat to remember if you need to.
Okay, here we have, I'm multitasking, sorry. Okay, this is flying.
Yeah. So flying with fish here, it's a good image. I'm sorry, did you have something to add there, Jill?
No, that was my chair clinking.
Okay. So flying with fish, good image with separation from the background. It feels a bit tight on top and on the left.
Next is Glacier Silhouette.
So a beautiful image, moody and contrast of this, not in contrasty, but the contrast of the strong mountain and the silhouette of the trees. The mountain is reflecting light and the tree silhouette is just holding light. So nicely done, nicely done.
Next is Jellyfish.
Um, okay, I think we might have skipped one, but maybe it'll come up later. Maybe my stuff's out of order. So to the maker on this, thank you for challenging me to spend time on this image. And I did a lot because it was a challenge for me to judge. The tension of the arms up to the left there add a sense of motion. This image would work better for me if the subject itself at the center was sharper. You have some dead pixels, I think, that we're showing. I'm not sure we can see it on this copy or on the screen here, but on my copy, they were a good number of dead pixels. So to just clone those out, that would be good. The smaller starfish in the background would be better if it wasn't overlapping the subject or cloned out completely. I think you can also crop out a bit more of the right side. So to the maker, I want to say that, that there's an awful lot of feedback, constructive feedback I gave you on this. Don't be discouraged if you like giving this a try. Keep doing it because I think your curiosity will do you well as you bring this, you ripen this.
Okay, this is Lilac Breasted Roller ready to launch.
Okay, so the position and the moment of hitting the trigger on this image, as well as what's in focus and what's not in focus, really captures and emphasizes the moment of the dynamic tension. Here talk about the decisive moment that Cartier-Bresson talks about. You get this just as the bird is about to launch into the air, and you give the bird room to go into. This image was a bit bright for me on the lower third, and I would tone that down, and particularly around beneath and around the claws of the bird.
And popping snack.
So perfect timing, good, sharp, you get the separation from the grass in the background. The bottom is a bit kind of hot for me, not hot, but just distracting in terms of its brightness, being the brightest part in the image. Just wonder if you could shoot lower to reduce that.
Not to be outdone, snack time.
So, clever title, nice sharp image, challenging, very challenging lighting. The challenge is how to move this to the next level and to make it more interesting. Just a second, and also enduring. And this might be one of the ones we could put some ideas in the chat if we have some time to do that. Maybe a few comments in the chat. Why don't we take the first 4 or 5? Don't be shy. Crop out the right. Come on, you cheeseheads. Brighten an eye. Get some catchlight in there, maybe. One more, or we're going to go ahead. Sharpen the deer. Lighten, increase the contrast on the head and neck. Okay, thank you. Move on.
Okay. Upper Cascade River.
Okay, good management of the sky and the focus. A little dark in the shadows for me and on the trees in the right. Again, let's take a few moments to add some ideas in the chat. To share with the maker on how to make this a bit stronger. So a couple of thoughts that I have. If there was a person or an animal in here, it would add a sense of interest. 2 comments here: brighten the shadows and lower the camera perspective. Good suggestions. One of the things that I find too to create some interest in images to dodge and burn, to move the viewer's eye through images and where I'd like their eye to go. Okay, should we move on?
Sure. Watching you.
Yeah, cute little bunny, right? It's interesting, this image evokes the sense of being in the presence of a shy being, doesn't it? Whether it's a person or a rabbit. So it's great exposure, it's sharp, has good depth of field. And with that blur in the background, well done in that way. If people are willing to, this was, I think, one of our other images that I'd ask for some suggestions about either how to shoot this particular subject or, how you might approach this to make it more interesting and raise it up in the scoring? How might you shoot a bunny or this bunny? What a shy group.
Okay, now it should be grand reflection of the Tetons, which I think we skipped over.
I'm seeing the great egret.
Right, that's what I've got. We can just do this and come back to that. So Great Egret is by Don Specht. Sorry, Terry. Okay, Grand Reflection of the Tetons by Fred Sabatka.
Okay, so excellent mountains and sky. The foreground I found a bit distracting. I would consider going for a pano and 1:3, 1:2. Look at those crop ratios. Crop out the lower third. And then I would also consider trying a gradient filter or a split tone to see what happens to create some drama. Otherwise, really nice image.
And then Great Egret by Don Specht.
Don, nice job. It truly is the title, Great Egret. The majesty of the bird is captured with very good detail and very good management of the bright light, good separation from the background. The crop, as I had talked about before with living beings, is to give it some room to move into, and so it's a bit too tight. Otherwise, really nice job.
And here is Rattler by Carl Wegener.
Did you say Carl or Carol?
Carl.
Carl, thank you. So this is a great shot. Perfect exposure. I did find myself getting distracted by the longer I looked at this by the wood chips in the lower right foreground. And actually, it didn't take long before my eyes started going there and finding that distracting. And then the bright light near the center of that part of the wood chips also became distracting and took away from your central image there. I think it's a challenge though, because that part of the snake that goes up and to the right is adds to its interest. So perhaps cloning into get rid of that spot to tone it down might work. And if you kind of blurred that in post-processing, maybe blur it a bit less, and that would improve it. Let's see if I have some others. Yeah, so that's it. Otherwise, your other option is to just crop it a bit from the right and have less of that slithering effect. Otherwise, great job.
Here we are with the 9s, starting with Pacific Loon Beauty. This is by Diane Herman.
And Diane, how beautiful this really is. Excellent. I'm not a nature shooter myself, and I don't tend to have nature shots around my home, but this one could be an exception. So excellent image. The bird is looking at us, the concentric circles in the water. It just add to framing the bird, and the lighting in that contrasts beautifully with the color, the vertical lines in the breast of the bird and on the side of the neck and on the back. One thing I did find distracting, and this isn't a nature club, so I think it's safe. It may be okay to say it in a nature club too. Is it looked like there was a bug in front of it, and I would clone that out. I found it distracting.
Okay, here is Summer Colors by Carl Wagoner.
Um, so Carol, really, really beautiful image. The colors are beautiful. And then the color in the plant, the way it plays off the background on the lower, in the middle, and in the upper is really well done. Um, so the strong light from the left, you capture the detail in this image. Um, so wonderful, contrasting again the primary colors with the secondary and the foreground with the subject.
And our 10 is Magnificent Macaw by Mary Ann Jerks.
So excellent, excellent image. Just like the title says, it's magnificent. Excellent management of the light. The background is sharp. The shoulder, um, you're getting a shoulder shot, is the way, I don't know what they call it in portrait work, with the bird looking right. The beak is holding our eye into the image. The soft background, again, with some of the colors that are in the foreground, and the crispness and the detail is just spectacular. Really nice job.
Okay, on to our pictorial category. We'll start with South Pier Light.
Okay. So this looks like an image, identical one that I've taken, and I think a lot of us have. Um, so South Pier in the Duluth Lift Bridge area there. Um, this winter, by the way, I rented the house that's at the other end of this pier, right at the foot of the bridge. It's if you ever want a house to rent up in Duluth for the weekend in the middle of the winter, it's perfect spot. And I was up there for 3, 4 days, and I went out shooting in the frigid cold, and came back up, and I sat my computer out and worked on the images that I took back, and it was perfect thing to do during COVID, getting food and bringing it back as well. Um, so good composition with the light posts, the puddle and the bulkhead drawing your eye in. Um, Again, reflecting on the notes that I said, my comments before we began tonight, if we're going to shoot an iconic image, it really has to be, a John Hancock kind of shot to score well. That doesn't mean that it's not a good image, and it doesn't mean that it's not something to be proud of and to have in your home. Technically, in this image, some areas of improvement. The puddle seemed to be the sharpest object in the image. I would crop down from the top and get in closer to an area of interest, as well as increase the exposure in the dark areas. And that would improve this image.
Here is the rose.
By the way, that house is available on Airbnb and VRBO, I think, that I was talking about. So the rose, nicely captured light and unfolding of the rose with the light falling off. My mind was struggling with what to do with the space to the right. The water droplets are interesting, play of light, but they're out of focus. And that can be okay with the suggestion I'm going to make. I think that my mind wants to focus on the single rose. So why not just crop this in like a square crop and just on that rose, the central rose itself. I think it would be a much stronger image that way.
Here is sunset.
So this image, I think, reminds us of the destruction of our atmosphere and our planet right now. We saw a lot of images this summer on people were taking with their cell phones and otherwise with the colors of the sky having this orange. So it's kind of sad, but it's also quite beautiful reminder of the horrible things that are happening. The foreground is the sharpest part of the image, and so that distracts. And there's a lot of extra space above. This would be another image that I would invite membership, if you're willing to take a try, to make some suggestions about how the maker might go back and reshoot this, or how might you have approached this if you were there? And here's somebody typing. MJ. Get the sun and the barn closer together. Yep, yep. So how might you do that? I'm bring the shadows up in Lightroom. So my suggestion about bringing the sun and the barn closer together, change your angle. I know you may not see that light through the barn window. Other suggestions? Yep, or Photoshop. Move the objects with Photoshop. Good suggestion, MJ. Appreciate that. Yep. Anyone else? Okay. MJ, the only thing I'd ask if you would mute your microphone so we don't hear you're typing when you're typing away. Thanks.
Now the sevens. We'll start with Busy Bee.
So to our Busy Bee maker, very well done. My eye is looking for a little bit more on the right and a little bit less on the left. And I think if you just crop from the left, this image would improve. I played a little bit with this shot in Lightroom too, and yeah, maybe a little bit of playing around with some of the texture. Also, and some of the light channels can give it a little bit of a boost too.
Monarchs on Blazing Star.
So when I first saw this image, I fell in love with it, and it was, it was great. And so it's sharp, it's well balanced with the one butterfly in the center. We got the rules of, odd numbers, and you've got 5 here, and that's great. And it's also okay to break the rule when you need to. So I was a little distracted by the lower left blur. It felt a little digital, maybe a little bit done post-processing. What I found was, and I tried this on my computer, cropping, so you only had 3 monarchs, the one in the center and the 2 on the left, created, I think, a stronger image. I would suggest you, again, because of the curve, I felt like I got to force this one down a little bit. Otherwise, it would have made it into the acceptances. Good, again, good management of the background. Resubmit it after you crop it.
Refreshing.
So, a great title. By the way, how are we doing on time? Bill? Anybody?
Terry might not.
Terry?
We're doing really,
I
really
think
well. Really
Okay,
well.
so can I slow down a little or keep
Well,
the same pace?
we don't have that many images left, so yeah, I think you don't need to slow down, but you're going at a good pace. You're saying so many you're making such great comments.
Thank you so much, Terry. So maybe after we can stick around if we have extra time, just for any kind of back and forth about the comments and the images. Okay, so back to work here. St. Mary's Falls, good exposure, nice effect on the falls itself in terms of the time, exposure, um, uh, and good composition. It was very close to acceptance, again, if not for the curve. I would remove some of the rocks to the left and you know what? Are we looking at the right photo? St. Mary's Falls, right? No,
we're on refreshing,
we're on refreshing, not
which is a
St. Mary's Falls.
waterfall.
Yep, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my note right below it. So I'm sorry. Erase everything I said so far. Let's go back to refreshing. Great title. It evokes this refreshment. Good start to shooting a falls. Again, my apologies to the maker. And shooting falls is something I'm not very good at. So my comments take with a grain of salt. I wonder where the interest is. We're going to see another falls coming up next, and I think it's stronger in that regard. So I wonder where the area of interest is. Let's see. Play with longer exposures and different angles. One of the suggestions I'd make to the maker is to hook up with one of the club members who's had a number of acceptances in shooting falls. And while we're on the subject, is there anyone that wants to type into the chat that they volunteer to hook up with the maker to help them with that? Steve? Yep. Steve saying yes twice. I think he's beside himself there with the opportunity. Thanks, Steve. Okay. So Maker, I suggest you check in with him. And we can move on to the next one.
This is St. Mary's Falls. Wait, Sunset.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Sunset Mount Alliance Church.
So your alphabetized order is a little different than my computer alphabetized the order. So this image captures beautiful light and the position related to the front of the church. It's a sharp image. Really captures that time of the day and the mood. My mind is struggling a bit with where to rest in this image. The door calls my eye because it's hot and the sun is too. But the most pleasing light in this image is on the cedar of the building, on the front of the building. What I would say is I think you could focus on these areas and we don't need to see the sun. We can look at what the sun itself is illuminating. We don't have to see the sunset in the sunset picture. And I think that would improve this image. So, I mean, just by cropping the left side out of the big palm tree, you can get a sense of what I'm talking about there. Okay.
Okay, Bill. Well, you're right. They were out of order, and I'll explain why when we get there. But first, let's do These river rats, pyramid skiers.
Yeah, and I think I figured out why too, because of that score on the one that I started um, talking about.
Yes.
That's going to come up. Yeah, on my copy here, it's in the wrong place. Um, okay, so Twin Cities river rats, the pyramid skiers. This is a very challenging image to capture with a sense of motion. Um, and with such complex background and lighting. So even just trying to get this and what you got, like, wow, okay? The image is sharp. It's a good shot. Actually, it's a great shot for the team's mementos or for their marketing. I want to congratulate you on getting most everyone looking at you and the camera. Um, we get a sense of motion from the lines off to the right of the toe lines, um, and the wake. So our mind knows that they're not standing still, even though it's a very static shot otherwise. A lot of the faces in the shadows, you might selectively add some light in there so it's not as pronounced a difference between those that have light and those that don't. With doing some dodging. Um, Creatively, if we're going to move into creative as opposed to more of a like narrative reporting, I think it would be stronger if you give some more room to the left and above, um, um, and giving a bit more separation from the background so it's not as sharp as the people in the pyramid. Um, on the other hand, to get creative, you might look at isolating a few or a part of the pyramid. Otherwise, great attempt at a very challenging image subject.
Okay, and here's the long-awaited St. Mary's Falls.
Yes, and the maker on this,
The maker on this. Oh, how did I know you were gonna? It's Michael Huber.
yeah, Michael. So is this the one that kind of sits
This
between
was the
the?
7.5.
Yeah. So, uh, again, the darn curve. 7.5. I mean, tonight I want to give you an 8. Um, good exposure, nice effect on the falls itself, and really good composition. It's so close to acceptance, and I think it really deserves that 8. And if I could, I would change it. If you give me the power, go ahead. So I would remove some of the sky and a little bit of the rocks on the left. In fact, I would crop the rocks on the left just to the left of that moss, and I'll take out just a hint from the right. Um, if you remove some of the haze that I think is being caused by the mist, um, and again, tone down a little bit of that trunk near the bottom of the photo, uh, maybe give it a slight vignette. I'd resubmit it, and I think it would not just get to be an acceptance, but I think it would score high. And I would also suggest that the person who shot the other falls shot, you two get together and go out and shoot falls together. Is the plural falls?
Okay, we're on to the 8th, and we'll start with Great Pyrenees by Pat Chaconis.
Yeah. So, well, lick my face. That's that's what I thought the title should be. Uh, what a friendly puppy, and the wonderful catchlight in the eyes, and the way you handled the background. This beautiful headshot of the dog. A handsome portrait. Good lighting, excellent depth of field with the focus falling off naturally. It looked to me like there's a piece of hair was bitten out of the dog's ear. Um, and I would use a blur tool to soften that. I don't know if you were trying to take some distracting element out, but that would definitely improve that. Now, I, Jill, I don't know, something's kind of odd here. On my notes and my recollection, this dog was flipped the other way. Is that possible?
Let me check my computer.
Am I seeing mirrored images? Because I
Uh,
found another image too. I referred to the right, but the image I'm looking at was on the things on the left. And I don't think I'm dyslexic these days.
nope, it's showing on mine as the little bright hair thing is on the left.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's how it's showing on the WebEx as well.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look at my copy. It should be the same. Okay. Anyway, it's that ear on the left. Next.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Did you announce the title and the maker?
I didn't. I'm doing it now.
Oh, okay. I think you were muted. We didn't hear that. Um,
Oh, okay. You want me to try? It's Forest Hill Pine Sunrise. Marianne Sir.
Marianne, nice job. Beautiful color in the upper third, and it's crisp. So the reflections with the ripples in the upper body of water create interest. Most of my interest is in the upper half, and so I think it would be a bit stronger at a 1:3 panorama. And I think you could crop out some of the bottom of the image because all of that interest really is there. Um, there was also, and I'm not sure I can see it on my screen here right now, but there was a dust spot in the upper left corner that I found distracting and would need to be removed.
On to the nines. This is Kramer Dry Plate Company, Crown Graphics by Steve Plotcher, or Grayflex
Steve,
maybe.
yeah. So Steve, nicely done. The parts, this still life is very well placed. The trigger, the way you have it drawn from the camera and to the book, carries our eye uh, through there. Um, the warm tones are beautiful, well done. The plates on the book, above the book, um, are just a little bit distracting, and so I might tone that down as it's a large bright area, and I would like to see that the largest bright area to be around the lens in the center. Uh, and then I would discover the plates by looking through, and around the image. Otherwise, really well composed. Nice job.
Here's Old Coniferous Tree, Shenandoah Valley by Chap Aiken.
So Chap, another really nice job tonight. Very peaceful, very timely, giving us a hint of what's yet to come. Okay, so there's a note here from Jill to everybody. She's going to change her network and try to reconnect. She's having a lot of lag. So I'll go slow to give her time. So again, give us a hint of what's yet to come in the weeks ahead.
I'm
Very peaceful.
back.
Oops. Hi, Jill. Let's go back to coniferous tree.
Sorry.
Okay. One of the things I thought of to strengthen this image might be selectively dodging and burning some areas to create a little texture within the light as well as the color. Um, I also wondered what it might look like with a little bit of a gradient dehaze from the top. Otherwise, just fine as it is too. A wonderful shot.
Here we have St. Paul by Mike Schrun.
Yeah. So your lag time is gone, Jill. So great time lapse. The reflections on the track really help create a sense of drama and draw our eye in and carry it through the image. Um, we get the dreamy effect in the water here. Um, one of the things that I struggled with was that the two areas, or one area of interest, the fireworks off on the left, um, is so far to the edge, as is the Capitol is to the right. It kind of created some struggle for me. So there's a part of me wished for an even greater panorama so they could come in from the edges or perhaps shift the image so we get the fireworks and give up the Capitol. But then I think you'd be losing the curve in the road on the below. Um, I don't know, maybe some Photoshop to move the fireworks somewhere else. um, so maybe a stronger image if you tried to capture less, but otherwise, excellent, well done.
And now our 10 is Flowered Painter by Fred Sabaka.
So Fred, my congratulations, compliments. What a creation you did here. I'd love to hear when we're done and we have a few minutes, if you're on to tell us how you shot this. But it is sweet and it's sexy and subliminally suggestive. Um, and it's so well done in so many ways. So my congratulations to you for this creation. And is Fred on it? And can we have him or her or they talk about their image?
Fred was here earlier. I don't see him. One of the things that we do for our salons, we asked the members who score tens to write up a little bit something about how they captured it or processed it or to give those details. So we've got a place on our
He
website.
earlier said he did not have audio.
Okay.
I'm
Right,
not seeing him on
he
the
did,
list.
yeah, he did use the chat. But we do have on our website uh, a menu item that is called Behind the Tens, and we write up information about uh, all the images that score 10, at least when the maker agrees to do that. So I think we probably can get Fred to do that again for us.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't suspect that I'll have easy access to that. So Terry or Jill or someone, if you could um, just forward that to me if and if Fred does it, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I can send you a link once it gets posted.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Anything else?
Do you have any more comments on this one?
No, I mean, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so great, the subject looking right at us, the position of her arm and the brush, again, the sexual suggestion with the explosive powder behind her, is powerful. The angle of the palette, keeping our eye into the image, the choices of the colors that actually have sort of this, the pastel kind of makeup, almost like effect. We might see them, not might, I can see some of those colors in her skin, not just because they're added, but because I think they're naturally in some, in her skin. And of course, the blue in the clothing as well. Um, the her hair, however that's done with a fan or, it's just adds to the sense of motion in an otherwise static, straightforward shot. So, the background again, adding to uh, framing the image. Anybody else have anything to add?
Well, I don't. That is our final image for this evening.
Well, you've been a great crowd.
Oh, you've been a great judge, and I appreciate. Oh, there's Fred. Fred, can you share information about this, or are you able to talk so we can hear you? No, I guess not.
How about can you add some notes into the chat um, if you've got quick fingers?
Well,
Just tell us a
Fred,
little bit about
we
it.
will be asking for information about how you shot this, and we'll put it on our website, and we'll let Bill know where that is.
Great. I got to tell you that judging on computer doing like this or Zoom is quite different than standing or sitting in a room together. And um, I wish I look forward to the time where we can all be together again uh, with warm bodies in the same space.
You're not the only one. You and me both. I think half the people here would go to meetings, and another half would be a little, more careful going forward because of their personal situations.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to get back to seeing people in person. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
And Bill, we'll have to invite you back again when we're
Well,
meeting in
I would love
person.
to. Where are your meetings in person?
We're at the Phipps Center for the Arts in Hudson,
Oh, that's not too bad.
and we have an exhibit that is going on right now. We're going to have an artist reception. Let's see if somebody added that to the chat. We're having we're having an artist reception on, let's see. Boy, we had a lot of chat here. Well, I can send that to you too. It's going to be later this month from 6:30 to 8:30 or 5:30 to 8:30 at the Phipps. So,
Well, please do send that to me. It would
yeah,
be,
okay.
I
It's
can make
October
it.
21st from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Phipps.
Well, maybe I'll bike there and stay overnight.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Is that it for the night?
It is. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Jill. Thanks to everybody else.